everyone. We are delighted to announce Ms. Kanika Tekriwal, CEO and co-founder of Jet Set Go Aviation and a major change maker in private aviation industry as Peak Life Women Inspire. She became an entrepreneur at the age of 24 and has consistently filled in the gaps in market to provide a superior charter service in a manner that is fully transparent and backed by technology. With determination and resilience, she has turned her passion project into 150 crore turnover company with more than 200 employees. Today, Jet Set Go is the largest market shareholder in private aviation and operates India's largest private jet and helicopter fleet. Kanika, that's too much. Her list of achievements are also truly never-ending. She has been listed among Forbes Asia's 30 under 30 leading entrepreneurs, as well as BBC's 100 most inspirational women in the world. She also received the National Entrepreneurship Award for e-commerce from Government of India. Her journey is truly remarkable, and her wisdom will certainly help current and future leaders chart their path and break the glass ceiling across the industries. Welcome, Kanika.
Thank you so much for having me.
Kanika, first of all, we thank you for accepting the invitation, and we congratulate you for being a Peak Life Women Inspire.
Thank you so much.
Sure. So Kanika, let's start with your journey. Your journey in the private aviation started at age of 17, and you learned on the job. You have grown strength to strength ever since. Yeah. So how do you look back on it, and what actually guided you to take it into the good stead all along?
To be very honest, I was very, very passionate about aviation, and I was lucky enough to get a role, to work at 17 in a company. I remember skipping college, going to office every day. We used to, pay and tune in the college some money to mark attendance for us, so I could spend time in the office the whole day. And I think I was very lucky, to get a chance at that time, to be honest, because it really, taught me things that no college or school could teach me. And private aviation was just starting at that time in India. There were only 12 to 15 airplanes, I think, if I remember right. And so it was an amazing experience. And I think I was young, hungry, and foolish, so learned a lot. And today you've got to be all balanced and proper and perfect. But yeah.
No, that's commendable. That's commendable. And I have also heard that you started with 5,600 rupees in your pocket.
Absolutely.
And then everything you managed for the first 6 months on your own. What would you tell entrepreneurs nowadays? Because many of them are facing lots of obstacles and setbacks, especially during these times.
No,
what do you suggest?
To be extremely honest, it's I think we're being suddenly, we're suddenly functioning in a world where we are told that entrepreneurship is linked to raising capital. Yeah. Entrepreneurship is about how much money you have in the bank. It's not that, entrepreneurship is not something that came about now. The word startup has become cool now. Entrepreneurs have become but belonging to a Marwari family, I've only seen entrepreneurs in my family.
True.
And I've never seen be it my grandfather or my great-grandfather or my father, anyone ever struggle with the idea that we need capital to start a business. So I think and they all started out somewhere. There were no PE funds, VC funds at that time, right? They all started out, they all figured out. And that's exactly what we did. I personally believe the best businesses are built in the leanest manners with the least capital. And I think the pandemic should be a big learning lesson for that. We saw so many startups shut down, collapse, because they laid their hands so wide. If you can get one person to do the job of 4 people, that's better. You don't need big fancy offices, big fancy cars. So, I'm a firm believer that a real entrepreneur makes do with the least amount of capital, utilizing his money wisely. And if your business plan is really good, if your idea is really good, it's all about implementation. Money will follow. Money is a catalyst to a great idea.
Sure.
So I think today's, entrepreneurs really need to get that whole concept out of their mind about, startups are linked to capital.
Yeah, yes, that's a very important point you have mentioned, because whole scenario, because being a startup being a cool word, everybody has started thinking that you are in a startup and you are attracting capital. So that is something which you have mentioned, and right now, there is like you said, we have changed the world completely, but you anticipated that technological advances will be the thing which will be taking it forward. But you were first to introduce a transparent pricing system in aviation industry. What are the key learnings would you like to share about the product innovation and problem solving from this?
So, I think that again, the thing we've learned in a business is that a business is always going to evolve, and you have to stay ahead of the curve. You have to stay ahead of the time to actually make a real product. If I invent a product today, like, I'll take a simple example of an iPhone. If the iPhone stops taking out new iPhones, they're going to go out of business, right?
True.
What is the difference between a company and an iPhone? If I don't keep evolving my offering, if I don't keep growing, if I don't keep changing, it's not going to succeed, and customers are not going to be happy. And which is why, we've brought in a lot of technology into the base of what we do at Jet Set Go. We try to use technology for engineering, for customer servicing, for pricing, for efficiency. Everywhere, not to make human jobs redundant, but I think to improvise systems, bring in more efficiency. And we actually have a very good tech team, which consistently works on how to improve efficiency in a system.
Wow, that's important. That's important. And and this private aviation is primarily based on customer experience, which is anyways essential to any business if you talk about. But Jet Set Go is constantly focused on enhancing this customer experience. How do you go about understanding the customer, what customer needs, and how do you differentiate your product from the competitors?
So I think we are servicing the 0.1% of the world who control the livelihoods and the GDP of the balance 99.9%.
Yeah.
And our biggest learning is these guys are short on time, and
always
they don't have time for themselves, they don't have time for their businesses, for their families, that they're always running. And to make sure that we are able to add to their time and honor their time and honor their commitment to us, we try to ensure that at every given point we're always consistently studying every single aspect to make their journey or make their entire experience. So from the time they leave their house to the time they reach the next house, be it the car, be it the airport, be it the aircraft, the car, airport again. Everything we can do to make sure each touch point is to their benefit. Be it something as simple as a customer saying, I want to sleep for 12 minutes exactly and then eat for these 4 minutes. We're going to make it happen.
Wow.
And I think our in-flight team is headed by one of the most experienced people in the space in the country. And what they consistently do is try to ensure that, anything a customer may say, like say today if a customer on a flight says, I don't like yellow, we try to ensure that yellow is never bought in front of their eyes.
Oh, wow.
And it's all about ensuring that each flight, each aircraft is customized to be customized.
Yeah, I think these customer experience are more of how personalized you can get with these, and that's how I think you retain the customer. Yeah. And like talking about these people are always short on time. The people whom we are catering together but you have also predicted that air taxi travel and shuttle services will be the big part of urban mobility going forward. How far ahead do you plan about this, and what do you think, would there be infrastructure obstacles or how do you plan it going forward?
I think the way we look at it again is that the world is in a place where the food we eat is changing, the water we drink is changing, the cars we drive are changing. What's not been disrupted in the last 20, 30 years is the aviation space at all.
True.
And that's one side of it. The other side of it is that, where is the space to put more cars on the road? Where is the space to park more cars? If you roam around in Delhi or Bombay, the roads are being taken up by car parking.
True.
The only space left to enable human mobility is either underground or in the third dimension, which is the sky. And you have all these tunnels being dug and all these fast trains. I'm not saying I'm not a believer in those. Of course, I'm a believer in. But I just believe that whatever you do, you should do with the least harm possible to the ecosystem we're living in.
True.
And this earth is made for all of us to thrive on. So, which is why we're working very closely to implement eVTOL utilization in India. Oh. And eVTOLs are nothing but electrical vertical takeoff and lift devices. So you're not burning fuel, you're not causing pollution, and you're getting people, from point A to point B, from their home to office, or home to a movie theater to office, at the cost of an Uber. We were very ambitious. We were thinking 2022, 23, but I don't think 2023 is going to happen with the way COVID has set things back.
Yeah.
But hopefully in the next 4 to 5 years, you will see the first eVTOL take flight.
Yeah, so all the best for that. We are all waiting for it. Now, and also, you being young in a male-dominated industry, you have spoken about that at the receiving end of many prejudiced comments. How do you tell people to handle this, and what is the best approach in when you are seeking investments, when you are leading a team and growing the business? Because these are things which come in quite handy to ladies around the world. Yeah.
To be completely honest, I think I had this lethal combination when I started out, which was young girl and aviation.
Yeah.
And everyone would be like, what is this? Like, people would say, are you sure you're not a cabin crew? Are you a ops staff? Are you a sales staff? The first meeting I went for, someone asked me, can I get them coffee? Because I thought I was the secretary in the building of their own building. So, stuff like that has happened. But I think, at the end of the day, again, the one lesson we've learned is that you have to keep focusing on your work and make the world take you seriously. If you're delivering a great product, if you're delivering a great service, no one's going to see if you're a man, woman, uncle, aunt, grandfather, grandchild. It's about service and the business you offer. So yes, the first 2 years were difficult. It was very difficult. But I think I took it upon myself as a challenge to see how can I fix this? What can I do? And we succeeded. There's still some haters. Haters will always be there, and it's always going to happen.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 second, 1 minute.
Please.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm so sorry. I'm doing the interview from home because I have a flight, and there's a new staff coming. So there's been full so all noises were coming. That's why.
No, that's understandable. These are hazards of working at home. So
working from home.
Yes, I know. I have a 3-year-old who is not at home, luckily. Otherwise, this interview was again a chaos. So anyways, carrying forward, JetSetGo has a female pilot on board each flight. I found this very interesting. And then I got some more stats. JetSetGo has one female pilot on board for each flight, one female engineer for every male engineer. Around 30% of the team is comprised of women, and the business is aiming to be gender neutral by 2022. How companies can make workplace more inclusive when you have such ratio, and do you find it is having its own benefits?
I think more than benefits, it's about aiming to do something which is better for the world. And I mean, I don't think there's a benefit over employing a man or a woman. Yes, that I always say that my cockpits have become more peaceful, they've become more nicer, etc. But I think that's more in my head personally.
Yeah.
But what I personally believe is that if we don't give chances to women being a woman, I cracked a joke in my office yesterday. I'm like, I'm going to hire a woman for all this world. And because I'm a woman, I'm being biased. And they've all laughed. But the reality of it is that aviation has always been such a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
I don't want people facing the issues I faced when I got in, which is why we are enabling a lot of women into the industry right now.
Yeah, that's brilliant. But how do you define your leadership style? You just spoke about cracking jokes. Do you often do that? And do you think it's important for a leader to have all the questions in themselves, or do you believe in partnerships and delegating the work?
So I don't think yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, yes ma'am works for me. And we're a very collaborative team. I am a person who loves to collaborate. I like my team questioning me, telling me I'm wrong. At the same time, I think I'm a very hard taskmaster. If I give someone a task or if I expect a certain outcome, I expect it to be done one way or the other. Because that's the nature of the industry, that's the nature of my business. But at the same time, I think our work culture is very different. A lot of people who join us consistently keep pointing that out, that they've never worked in an aviation company like this. Because I believe every single person working for the business is an owner of the business. They're all stakeholders in the business. So ultimately, we all fall together, we all make it together.
And that's the only way you can grow.
And I have a great leadership team, who assists me throughout everything. So I'm very happy with them.
Wow. That's brilliant. Tell us something about the newly launched leasing business. You have just launched something very big in India amid this pandemic. I would like to know about it.
So, again, I think we wanted to lease aircrafts. No one abroad was willing to lease aircrafts into India.
Yes.
Hilarious. And we were like, okay, so what do we do? And then our Prime Minister came out with the concept of, let's create a Singapore of India, or let's create an island of India. So we said, okay, let's do this. And so we started it. Made our own selves the guinea pig. We leased an aircraft that we were operating. It was very tedious because obviously, we were learning. Everyone was learning along with us, and the government was learning. There were like 20 different agencies involved in doing whatever needs to be done. And so it took 6 to 8 months. But I think now, we hope to reach a stage where we can provide aircraft leasing not only to Indian companies but also to international companies, depending on how it goes.
Wow. That's really something. So finally, what are the most challenging and rewarding aspects of your work?
I think the most challenging aspects are that no day is the same. I woke up this morning thinking I'm going to have a very peaceful day, and then one of our aircraft I had an issue with the air traffic control. They weren't releasing the airplane. And then Oman said they won't give us an overflight permit because they don't have clarity over something. And silly things like that. So, but I think those are the days you decide to take off. Like if I say, okay, this one Sunday a month I'm not going to work, that's probably the only Sunday in the month which turns out to be the worst Sunday.
Yeah,
so there's never a day off in this business.
Yes, it happens with everyone, I guess.
And your customers expect you to answer phones at 6 a.m., 2 p.m., 2 a.m., all sorts of stuff. But so that's probably the only challenging part. I think the rewarding part of it is, the relationships I've made, the friendships I've made doing this business, the people I've met, the learnings I've had. I've met some of the best pilots. Some of our customers are the biggest change makers in the world. And when they call you and say, Kanika, thank you so much for doing this for me. You need this.
Wow.
It's the best feeling in the
True.
world. So so I think the challenges are very small, the rewards are way high.
I know. And that's what keeps you motivated, I guess.
Absolutely. Every morning you want to wake up and you want to make a difference to someone. During COVID, we had so many people call us and say, thank you for doing this. Thank you for saving my son's life. Thank you for saving my father's life.
Wow.
We were doing a lot of COVID medevacs. So I think those are the small rewards which really motivate you to wake up each morning and fight it.
Yep. And all the best for that. And one more, when you are not working, because you seem to be a working girl every time. When you are not working or holidaying, what is your favorite destination?
On holiday, St. Moritz. I spent about a week in St. Moritz last year by myself, and I loved it. It was the only time I took off. And I think I'll go there every winter as much as possible.
Wow. So we pray for that. And thank you, Kanika. Thank you for accepting this invitation and being candid enough to answer all our questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.